afternoon. A former Australian Defence Force member has today been arrested and will be charged with 5 counts of war crime murder after a joint investigation between the Office of the Special Investigator and the AFP. The former soldier was arrested at Sydney's domestic airport this morning and is expected to face a New South Wales court later today. It will be alleged the man was a member of the ADF when he was involved in the death of Afghan nationals between 2009 and 2012 in circumstances that constitute war crimes under the Commonwealth Criminal Code. The offence of war crime murder carries a maximum penalty of life imprisonment. It will be alleged the victims were not taking part in hostilities at the time of their alleged murder in Afghanistan. It will be alleged the victims were detained, unarmed, and were under the control of ADF members when they were killed. It will be alleged the victims were shot by the accused or shot by subordinate members of the ADF in the presence of and acting on the orders of the accused. Operation Emerald Argon began in 2021 and is a joint investigation between the Office of the Special Investigator and the AFP. It has been a complex investigation that has been undertaken thoroughly and meticulously. We understand these charges will have an impact on several communities in Australia. Whenever I give a press conference, I do not just provide the facts in front of me, but I also address those impacted the most. So I want to now directly address the concerns and questions that some may have. The alleged conduct related to these charges is confined to a very small section of our trusted and respected ADF, which helps keep this country safe. The overwhelming majority of our ADF do our country proud. Today's charges are not reflective of the majority members who serve under our Australian flag with honour, with distinction, and with the values of a democratic nation. Today is a day to rally behind the ADF and be mindful of the families whose loved ones have died while serving our country. Those charged or facing charges under these joint investigations will face the justice system in Australia. This is my message to the families of victims and the Australian community who want and deserve answers. Furthermore, this investigation remains ongoing. I encourage those who have relevant information to come forward to the OSI if they have not yet done so. This is the second time a joint OSI and AFP investigation has laid war crime murder charges against a former ADF member in Australia. I want to thank the hard-working members of OSI and AFP for their continued dedication. I also want to thank state and territory law enforcement agencies that have provided assistance during this investigation. This matter is now before the court, so I'm constrained about what further information can be provided. I'll now hand over to OSI Director Investigations Ross Barnett, and then we'll take some questions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Today's action is a significant step and is underpinned by a careful and professional investigation under challenging circumstances and the gathering of evidence over a lengthy period. The seriousness of these charges has deserved nothing less. I want to acknowledge the team, past and present, for the resilience, investigative acumen and impartiality they have demonstrated throughout this investigation. Equally, it is also important to acknowledge that the person charged is entitled to the presumption of innocence until determined otherwise. The OSI has in total commenced 53 investigations involving allegations of war crimes by Australian Defence Force members in Afghanistan. 39 of those matters have now been provisionally finalised unless new evidence emerges. Those 39 matters have also been comprehensively investigated to the same high standard as today's charges, but we have not gathered sufficient evidence to meet the threshold for the referral of a brief of evidence to the Commonwealth Director of Public Prosecutions. Other investigations remain ongoing. These war crimes allegations are extremely complex matters to investigate, However, we remain committed to completing the remaining investigations as expeditiously as possible.
Thank you. We'll take questions just one at a time, please.
Yes. Can I name him? Ben Robertson.
Our usual practice is we don't name people that we're talking about, so I'm not going to provide any further information.
So what was the 47-year-old's reaction when you intercepted him at the airport today?
Again, I'm not going to go into that detail this afternoon.
Was it a surprise arrest? Did he know that he was going to be arrested when he walked off that plane?
Again, that's not information that I'm going to go into.
These matters were subject to a federal court case. Has any new information come to light since that concluded that resulted in these arrests or these charges?
I would just say the investigation has been ongoing since 2021, and there's a lot of pieces of information that have formulated that investigation.
Is evidence or material from that defamation case being used in this prosecution?
Again, I will say the investigation's been underway since 2021, and investigators have used a raft of information to get us to where we are today.
That trial involved anonymous witnesses. How do you expect anonymous witnesses to be used in this prosecution?
I'm not going to go into any detail about witnesses today.
Were all 5 of these alleged offences already the subject of findings to the civil standard in that defamation case? And were there any alleged war crimes proven to the civil standard in that case that are not included here, and if so, why?
Again, I'm not going to go into that level of detail. We expect that the man will be charged later this afternoon, and you will have access to the charges that have been laid.
What triggered the arrest today? Obviously, this has been a long investigation. Was there any particular reason that he was arrested today? He wasn't trying to leave the country or anything?
So there's a number of operational considerations that we factor into our planning and when to effect an arrest and how, but I'm not going to go into that detail, just to say that there's a number of operational considerations that we factor in.
You mentioned that this is the second time someone's been charged for alleged war crimes in Australia. The first being Oliver Shaw was back in 2023. So he was charged in 2023. The time of the alleged offending was in the early 2010s, and he's still yet to stand trial until some estimates say 2027. The RSL has previously condemned the AFP and the OSI for taking too long on these kinds of things and dragging down, therefore, the names of people who have served. I guess, what's your response to that?
What I would say is, as I've indicated and the Commissioner's indicated, these investigations are incredibly complex. And if I can perhaps just provide a few examples of why these investigations are taking a protracted amount of time. Unlike a conventional investigation that's conducted in Australia, the OSI has been tasked with investigating literally dozens of murders alleged to have been committed in the middle of a war zone in a country 9,000 kilometres from Australia that we can no longer access. So the challenge for investigators is that because we can't go to that country, we don't have access to the crime scene. We don't have access to the crime scenes. We don't have photographs, site plans, measurements, the recovery of projectiles, blood spatter analysis, all of those things we would normally get at a crime scene. If you add to that we don't have access to the deceased, there's no post-mortem, therefore there's no official cause of death. There's no recovery of projectiles to link to weapons that might have been carried by members of the ADF. So there are a lot of practical challenges that confront the investigators who are doing all of these jobs. Often we have to start our investigation only with 1 or 2 photographs from the battlefield and some contemporary ADF reporting and potentially some third-party eyewitness testimony about what's alleged to have occurred. So it's a very challenging starting point for all of these investigations.
Are you confident there may be more charges and more arrests over this matter?
There are more investigations still to be finalised, and I'm not going to comment on what the outcome of those investigations might be, other than to say there'll be only two possible outcomes. They'll either be finalised or there'll be a brief supplied to the DPP.
Are there more investigations on this particular matter?
I'm not going to comment on the substance of the remaining investigations, other than to say that we haven't finished our work and there are still more matters to be resolved.
There are 3 official charges that are in relation to aiding and abetting others. How many others do you believe are involved in these matters?
I'm not in a position to comment on the particulars of these matters because they're before the court, but investigations are ongoing.
In relation to the 39 investigations finalised but at this stage not proceeding and the 10 investigations ongoing, are any of those allegations of war crimes against the same person as these 5?
I'm not going to comment on the substance of the remaining investigations.
Even the 39 that are finalised, you're not going to say whether any of those relate to the same person?
No, I'm not going to comment on the specifics of any of those, other than to say that all of those matters were investigated to the same high standard that these matters have been investigated.
Commissioner, will police be imposing bail?
There's obviously a process that will be gone through today in terms of what happens next, so I'm not going to go into detail about that.
You're not going to say whether your police will insist that bail be refused?
I'm not going to share that detail.
Have the families of the victims of these alleged crimes, have they been informed about these developments?
There are obviously challenges with being able to access and communicate with people inside Afghanistan for obvious reasons. So we are fortunate that we have established links with some expats, both in Australia and in friendly third countries, and we try and leverage those relationships to get those messages done. But at the same time, it's just not safe for us to contact people directly inside Afghanistan.
So does that mean that most of them don't know about these developments?
Potentially they may not, but we've got to act on advice given to us by DFAT about the geopolitical situation and the position of the Australian government to these things.
What impact is the current conflict in the Middle East having on the position of the timeline?
Nothing more than it has been for the last 5 years. The challenges that I spoke about, the situation in Afghanistan has only deteriorated over time. It's only made our job more difficult, and we don't see that changing in the immediate future.
Are you in contact with the Taliban government over these charges?
We are not, no.
Given the length of this investigation and the difficulties you outlined in obtaining evidence, would you consider this the most significant war crimes prosecution in Australian history?
I think it would be fair to say that the 2 prosecutions launched by this joint investigation are the first time that the relevant provisions in the Criminal Code of Australia have been used against serving ADF officers, yes.
How much of a role did the media investigation, the newspaper investigation into this matter assist this investigation leading to his arrest?
Well, we take information from a range of sources, including the media, and we assess all of that information and we feed that into our process.
Was it crucial?
All information we get is important.
Can you tell us where he was going and coming back from when he was arrested?
So he was travelling to Sydney from Brisbane.
Do you know if he was planning to board a flight after that, though, an international flight?
I'm not going to go into that detail today.
Do you have the time of the arrest?
Sorry?
What time was that arrest?
The precise time, I would have to get that for you.
Who was with him at the time?
I'm not going to go into detail about who was with him in terms of family or whatever. I'm not going to share that detail.
Have any of the participants in these 5 matters been granted immunity from prosecution other than the 47-year-old arrested?
For obvious reasons, these matters are now before the court, and I'm just not in a position to speculate about the Crown case. You know, that's a matter for the future criminal proceedings and the trial in due course.
It's fair to say there'll be more arrests made, given that there are other individuals associated with some of the allegations?
I wouldn't confirm or deny that. We'll continue this investigation until we get to the end point, and wherever the evidence leads, that's where we'll go. And if the evidence leads to other people needing to be charged, you can be assured that will happen.
Last question, please, guys. Can you tell us about the size of the team involved in this investigation and how much their work was over the past 5 years?
The OSI started with an investigative group of approximately 54 people, and bear in mind that's to investigate 53 allegations of murder from scratch. The resources assigned to various investigations fluctuates over time. As we're able to finalise matters, we're able to reassign staff.
Thank you. Thank you.